lovely to be here. Thank you so much for coming and chatting with us. I guess my first thing that I was really curious about was, that you've had a really full career in doing different things, teaching and being a minister. What the move into politics, was that something that was just organic, or was it something you'd intended to do? How did that come about?
Well, it's a very good question, and I'd say that it is mostly organic. Although when I was a teacher, people used to come to me because my father was a politician, and they would say, "Did you ever think you'd ever go into politics?" And my answer was always no.
Okay.
I don't know why, but maybe I saw no track into that area. But certainly my life as a teacher, later on my life as a pastor, certainly has connected me with people and communities and families all the way through my working life. So the organic part of it is that politics is about people, essentially.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's about policies, it's about all of these political parties and things like that. But the bottom purpose, or the highest purpose of politics is obviously to make life better for people. So it's not much different to some of the other jobs I've had.
So was there an opportunity that came, or was it just a realization that I could be influential in this way, or was it sort of the next step? Or? It
was a next step, but it had to be a reasonably deliberate step. And it wasn't a deliberate step to become a candidate and then run in a general election and then become an MP. Some people spend their whole life trying to do that. So I was up in West Auckland working there with different communities, and I thought there's a part of community life that I'm not connected with. I remember writing a letter to Bob Harvey, the mayor of Waitakere City at the time, telling him he's doing a great job and being the mayor of the place, and he invited me to come along to a council meeting, which I couldn't make it because I was offshore at the time. But I just wanted to connect into that bigger world of decision makers in our communities. So I remember watching a TV program on a Saturday morning called Agenda. I guess it was the contemporary version of Q&A of the time.
Yeah.
And John Key was being interviewed, and he said he liked to play squash. And I remember when my dad was an MP, he and I would play squash every Sunday afternoon. So I wrote a little note to John and said, "Look, don't worry, I'm not trying to be a groupie, but if you ever want to have a game of squash, I'm available."
Fantastic.
And
awesome.
And so I never got the reply back, "Yes, I'd like to play next weekend." But I did receive an invitation to a luncheon where he was speaking at, and my politics and views aligned with his. I went along to that and was very impressed, particularly with his backstory. And then I guess I started to get involved on the fringes, really, just attending a function here and there. But actually what happened in me doing that, people down in New Plymouth heard that I was becoming involved, and they were looking for a candidate. So through a whole sort of series of meetings, events, and I became a candidate to be selected. As the candidate. There's a few little steps you have to go through.
Yep.
Finally, I became the candidate to represent National in the New Plymouth electorate general election 2008 against Harry Dynhoven, was the incumbent Labour Member of Parliament. I had a sense that it could be close because I knew the swing of what was happening around the country, and I knew that John Key was proving very popular and being able to very coherently express his thoughts and a wide breadth of understanding of all sorts of subjects. There was a fair bit of travel to be, in terms of getting the vote up in New Plymouth, that had to be achieved, but we did. And on the final 22nd of November 2008, which happens to be my wedding anniversary as well, I won by 105. There you go.
Wow, so very close.
Very close.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And here we are, and you're still
10 years
here.
later.
Yeah,
that's right.
Fantastic.
Still married. After being in politics for a decade.
Well, that's an achievement.
Yeah, it is.
Definitely.
That's really good.
So one of the things that I was thinking about sort of reading a little bit about your backstory and hearing it now as well, sort of, you know, going into teaching and being a minister, and then just wanting to, you know, get to sort of groups that you weren't accessing. What really runs through there for me is leadership. That it's obviously something that you've, you know, I think of leadership as being a choice that we make, and then we rise to the occasion. What for you are the sort of driving forces behind that, and how do you define leadership in your?
Yeah, well, that's a very good question, because when you're involved in, as I have been, in teaching, you're wanting to lead, in that case, it was young children, onto a road of discovery and learning and maturity. You want them to succeed, and you can't make them do that. You can only guide and inspire and help. And it's the same deal when, you know, I was in West Auckland for over 20 years, minister of a contemporary church there, working with individuals, families, young and old. You know, it's their life. They choose. But what you want to do is facilitate their success. So in a sense, you are only leading by influence and example. It's not like you're in a corporate structure where, you know, you can say, this is how you ought to do things. It doesn't work because people have their own lives, their own choices, their own pressures, their own aspirations. And so leadership is all about helping them achieve their goals. And if they don't have them, to help them grow them. And if they are challenged along the way, to help them find a way through. And this is where I say politics is very similar to that work, and also to the work I did as a teacher. Because you are working with people who are their own free agents, who make their own choices, who have their own goals and aspirations, and have their own challenges and hurdles. And so my job is to help them through all of that, help a community through it, help us to have laws that enable that. So I think I've always felt that people who lead volunteer groups are the best of leaders, because they have to motivate people who give their time in their free time, and often in what's called their tired time. You know, volunteers often work after hours, and it's the same sort of thing. I mean, I lead volunteers who, you know, want to be involved with the National Party. So it's a matter of always appreciating them, finding where they fit, where they can contribute, where they can succeed. People want to succeed, otherwise they get discouraged and give up.
Absolutely.
So it's a matter of actually just helping people with their aspirations and where they fit, and getting them working with other people. And it's the same thing when it comes to, you know, there's a number of projects and programs which I've helped initiate, particularly around youth training and youth employment. We've brought together principals and industry leaders. You know, two of the most busy groups of people in our city. Yet they have worked together to form this organisation called Taranaki Futures, which has done some marvellous things for the young people of New Plymouth and Taranaki. And so I count it as a real privilege to be that sort of connector person. One of the things an MP gets to do is do the helicopter view of the place.
Fantastic.
We just I get to visit so many different people from so many different sectors, and it's amazing when you get that sort of overall view. You see the collaborations that could happen, whereas a principal is often so busy just doing that in their school. They reach out to their community, they do that as well. But it's not as if they want to be disconnected, it's just that they are required to put all of their energy into their school community, whether that's teachers, students or parents. So one of the things that I count as a huge privilege is this ability to reach across the whole community. And I thought to myself a number of years ago, nobody's going to stop me having initiative. And if I can show it, other people will appreciate it and may follow. And so that's what I've done, really. I've kind of done things that a lot of other MPs don't do. Maybe it's because of my background, but certainly I came to a realisation a number of years ago, nobody's going to tell me what to do. I have to self-initiate. Wow, I guess that's leadership, but it's actually just seeing opportunities and trying to make the most of it.